One of the reasons I chose purple for my Limitless color studio is, I'm not on one side of the political spectrum. I think both red and blue are, equally sort of very very similar, just with different perspectives, just opposite perspectives. And as soon as one takes one perspective, the other group is just reactively going to take the other perspective. And so purple is the combination of red and blue. It
Mm.
signifies coming together, and becoming one. And I feel like ultimately the purple party might be the party for the future of the human race, once we can kind of come together and see that, look, these are perspectives that we have. These are not truths. These don't need to define me. They can just be a perspective that I have at this moment in time, in the present moment. And I think that once we realize that what we're speaking is in most cases is perspective and opinion as opposed to truth and fact, then we can have a lot more compassion for people with different perspectives and different ways of viewing things, and we can come together and make a lot more progress.
Yeah, you better. Cause you want this, I want this. Everybody in this, what should have it? Stop illusions, it's in your hands. Show yourself, reveal it to them. Yeah, you better. Take the time to recognize it. You won't leave me even if you tried it. You're the artist, I'm the mess, and happily be found the new in your hands.
Matt Beall is the host of Matt Beall Limitless, a podcast dedicated to expanding human understanding through open-minded inquiry and deep conversation. His work explores the intersection of ancient history, consciousness, science, and truth, often challenging accepted narratives and inspiring others to think beyond convention. Matt is currently involved in several major investigations, including the scientific exploration of the Big Void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, the study of ancient Egyptian stone vases carved from diorite and granite, and the reopening of the Kurt Cobain case. His curiosity spans from the mysteries of our origins to the mechanics of the mind itself. As chairman and CEO of Beall's Inc., Matt also brings a thoughtful, self-aware approach to leadership, integrating personal growth and authenticity into business, exploration, and life itself. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Unlimited with Elisabeth Carson. Today I have a very special guest, Matt Beall. Listen, your podcast is named Limitless, and then my podcast is named Unlimited. So I'm so happy to have you here because obviously we're on the same kind of frequency here with things, right?
Yes, ma'am. You know it. Yeah, I was flattered when I saw your podcast name when it came out. So super cool, super cool. Same
Yes.
thing.
I think that's really, Matt, what is important in life. I think that everybody is just trying to kind of figure it out, and everybody's just trying to get by with love and community and doing the best that they can do. So that's why I named my podcast Unlimited, because there's so many differences of opinions and ideas and ways to heal and thought patterns and religions. And, there's just so many different beliefs out here that I feel like everybody should be heard, because I feel like we're all just trying to kind of do the same thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, totally agree. Super cool. And yeah, very similar to kind of, why I went down the path with Limitless. And it's just, I think from when I was developing the name for my podcast, it was more kind of along the lines of like, we kind of limit ourselves a little bit, through the various things, through our beliefs, through our identification, through the various things that we do a lot of times. And so my podcast is exploring a lot of topics that are just way out there, and so it's like, talking about things that are unlimited amount of topics, for one thing, but then to be open to people and different perspectives and different ideas, I think is just critical. And we can't do that if we're limiting ourselves through, different beliefs about, okay, this is right, this is real, this is not, this, this isn't. So we're exploring the full, total gamut of possibilities out there.
Absolutely. I love that. So let's dive into, because you talked a little bit about the crazy subjects that you talk about on your podcast. So what are some of those crazy subjects?
I mean, it's everywhere. It's UAP, which is not crazy. Ancient civilizations, which is not crazy. Just a lot of like kind of more esoteric topics. I mean, we've gotten into near-death experiences, which is one of my favorites to get into with a guy named Dr. Jeffrey Long. We talk about the flight MH370, a lot of mysteries and what some people might call conspiracies, but just interesting topics that like haven't totally been completely explored. The Kurt Cobain death and whether or not that was a murder or a suicide is something that we've explored on the show. I actually took those episodes down just because we're getting really close to the finish line here. Started investigating that case and attempting to make some progress and potentially get the case reopened since doing it. So very excited about that, and it looks like we're almost there. So that's upcoming on the podcast.
Wow, look at the moves you're making with everything. That's incredible. It
Yeah,
bleeds over into real life. Amazing.
yeah. It could be a big deal. I mean, this could be, like global international news if we're able to get this thing reopened. So we got a big meeting coming up in Seattle in the first part of November that I'm really excited about. And, if people take it seriously, I mean, we've compiled, it's taken a year and a half, and we've compiled a lot of evidence and a lot of data that suggests that this thing needs to be looked at, and that, that it's not just closed case suicide. And it was ruled suicide on the same day that his body was found, like almost immediately. And there's reasons for that we don't have to get into in detail right now. But there's serious question marks on what happened that night with Kurt. So.
Can we get a little bit into it? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's something that is it again. It needs to be explored. It needs to be looked at. The Seattle Police Department did not actually do a proper investigation on the case. There was immediately, he had been missing for 5 days, so they didn't know where he was. Once they found him, the media was just swarming the house. Everybody was there, and so somebody came out and said that a suicide note had been found at the scene. And so once the person from the inside of the house reported that to the press, it was like suicide note found, Kurt Cobain commits suicide, like global news without any kind of investigation done. And so they were kind of forced to say, okay, it's a suicide. But there's just all kinds of evidence. There's all kinds of just weird things about the incident that need to be looked at. And I'm not saying, look, 100% murder, but I give it very high odds after investigating this thing for the last year and a half and like talking to the experts. I mean, he was probably legally already dead when he was shot. He had, I mean, he had like 4 times the lethal dose of heroin in his system when his body was examined by the medical examiner. The shotgun shell ejected to the wrong side. The shotgun itself was completely wiped clean of all fingerprints. It looked like it was staged. He had somehow, after 4 times the lethal dose of heroin, between that moment and shooting himself, he was able to roll down his sleeves and button his sleeves back up, and like put away the kit very properly back into the box that it was at. I mean, the shotgun shell was sitting very neatly on one of his shirts that was folded up off to the side of the room. So the shell would have had to ejected, bounced off of his leg or something else, and fired off to the other side of the room in order for it to have occurred. He had a cadaver's grip on the gun. The gun, actually, if it is gripped by the barrel, probably doesn't eject the shell anyway. It doesn't. The shell, actually, it's like a safety system on this model. We actually went and bought a exact replica of the gun. So same year, same make, just different serial number. And we did a bunch of testing on it. So, Yeah, I think it's one of those things where nobody's pointing fingers, nobody's saying that this person did it or that person did it or whatever. We're just saying, look, let's get this evidence to the authorities and let them investigate, like and find out, what's really going on here and talk to some people because there were actually witnesses. There were people at the house. There were people partying with Kurt, like in the days before his body was found, and there's people that need to be talked to, and they're still alive. A lot of them are dead. Sadly, this was 31 years ago, so a lot of the people that were there have kind of died in weird ways, I'd say, strange kind of circumstances in a handful of cases. And one of the bandmates in Hole was found was also died of a heroin overdose in her bathtub about a month after Kurt did. Very strange. And so, it needs to be investigated.
Wow, my mind is blown. Are you
Yeah.
serious? What what could have been a motive for someone to wanna do that?
I can't even, I mean, I can't get into it just because of just how sensitive the case is and just, just how just I don't want to kind of yeah, I don't want to get into the speculation of who and why. I think
Uh-huh.
that's out there, and if you dig into it, you'll probably get a lot of answers on that. And I'm happy to talk with you offline, but I'd rather not kind of speculate.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Oh my god. So what sparked this it was an interview that sparked this interest for you?
Yeah, it was a documentary that came out in 2015 called "Soaked in Bleach," and it's a Netflix documentary. Anybody can go out and watch it. It's freaking fascinating. And the guy that was the kind of the star of this documentary, his name is Tom Grant, and he was the private investigator that was hired by Courtney Love to locate her missing husband, Kurt Cobain, in the couple of days after he had died. And so Tom worked directly with Courtney and on the case, attempting to find him. And Tom is beyond convinced that Kurt was murdered. And so I had Tom on my show and did actually two podcasts with him. And I became convinced too that this was, that this needed to be looked at in a serious way. And I think one of the big things is you've had copycat suicides happening for the last 30 years. Like kids have killed themselves and and had suicide notes that have spoken about Kurt Cobain doing this, and they do it on the anniversary of his death. And it's like it's if he didn't really kill himself, then none of that needs to happen, and we can put a stop to that, and we can actually get the news out there and get the truth out there. And I think for my generation, I was in like high school. I was maybe 15 or something like that when this happened, and it's like it was pretty devastating for an entire generation. And suicide's a legitimate mental health, like it impacts people if you know somebody who has committed suicide. And I think everybody kind of felt like they knew Kurt Cobain back then. Like it was like so it made a big impact on a lot of people. And if he didn't actually kill himself, then I think the world should know that. They should, like, we should know that. So that's where the passion came from, kind of that documentary, and then talking to Tom Grant. And then I got involved with another partner of mine. I guess I could call her a partner, but somebody that I've been working with from whokilledkurt.org. And she's been very, very helpful and instrumental in kind of, getting the ball pushed down the field and getting all the evidence and the information out there that we need to make progress with the case. So.
Wow. I mean, the truth should always be out there. There's just so much. There's just so much. That's crazy. Well, I commend you for your efforts because that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And I mean, you're kind of hearing it first. I haven't talked on other podcasts about this too much, and so this is kind of a limited exclusive. So limitless to limited exclusive. And, I'm super, super optimistic about it. Obviously there'll be more coming out, once we're able to, have the meeting. And then, honestly, I'm done with it at that point. It's out of my hands. We've worked on it for a year and a half. We've compiled a ton of evidence, and we've got the meeting coming up, and then it's off to the authorities to figure it out. I'm not involved after that point, but hopefully, they'll see enough evidence to be able to say, hey, we want to reopen this case. And I shouldn't mention, who we're meeting with and how that's all going down. And, I think I'm just very grateful to have an audience in Seattle and have the potential to have the case relooked at. Just, justice for Kurt, justice for somebody who's been what I think is very likely wrongly remembered for the last 3 decades. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wow. That's crazy. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, Matt. Wow. That just
yep,
blew my mind. I'm like sitting over here. Whoa.
wild, right?
Dang. Yes, yes. You know what? You've done so many different interviews with so many different types of people. And I know that when I was on your show, actually, you were talking about how you're going to Egypt in December, right?
Yep.
To do something special in Egypt after having I don't know how to say his what was his
Oh,
name?
Zahi Hawass?
Zahi. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. So what are you exactly doing in Egypt there?
Yeah, so this is kind of fun. Yeah, I'm actually funding and now a part of the team that I'm funding, helping fund the robotics component of this team of explorers and archaeologists and engineers, and we're going into the Great Pyramid with Zahi Hawass's permission, of course, and we're going to be doing some exploration there. So of a couple of chambers that have never been explored in the last 4,500 plus years. A lot of people think it's a lot older than that, but at least 4,500 years that pyramid has been on this earth. There are a couple of chambers that have been found that haven't been explored. And so we're going to be going in with very sophisticated robotics equipment to find out what is in these chambers. And so that's very exciting. Yeah, I guess the first one, the team is actually going out there next week kind of for the warm up. I am not going to be attending that one, but I'll be going out for the main event in December, and they're going to be testing the equipment and kind of mapping the shafts within the Queen's Chamber next week and getting all prepared for the actual exploration in December, assuming that we don't have any snags, or that there's delays or whatever. Then it's looking like December week 2. We'll be back out in Egypt in the Great Pyramid, sending robotics equipment, very safe, non-invasive. It's not going to hurt anything. No holes are going to have to be drilled, up into the north shaft. And if you're familiar with it, in the Queen's Chamber, there's the north and the south shaft, and they both have these blocking stones when you get to the end. And I think there may be like I might misquote this, but I want to say it's like 50 meters or something like that. The length of each of the shaft, and they go all the way out to the surface, to the edge, to the outside of the pyramid, almost all the way to the outside. And so there's a blocking stone on both at the end of both the north and the south shaft, and they have these two copper pins that kind of poke out of them. And there's this huge mystery as to like, what are these copper pins doing, and what were they for, and why did the builders of the pyramid put them there? So there was a hole drilled in the South Queen's Chamber blocking stone with the pins on it about 15 years ago or so. I think it was 2010, give or take. And this team that I'm working with was actually the same team. They put a camera through that. They didn't drill the hole, but they came back and put a camera through that and looked around, and they found these etchings of what that are still. It's like this red ochre paint, and it kind of has these interesting different little symbols on them. And so they've known about those for a while, but nobody knows what's behind the blocking stone of the Queen's Chamber north shaft door. So that's what we're going to be doing in December, and then in 2026 we're going to be going back and exploring the Big Void, which is a huge chamber within the Great Pyramid. This is the one I'm really, really excited about, and it's like the size of two semi trucks. I mean, huge open chamber there that they're going to be finding a great way to get into it and then seeing what's in that thing. And it could be, kind of like similar to the Grand Gallery.
Mhm.
It could be anything though. It really could be anything. So we're excited about both of those adventures.
Awesome. Have you ever been to Egypt?
No, this is gonna be my first time in December. I've been, wanting to go kinda more so this year, now than ever, but I've
Yeah.
been delaying just because I knew that this trip was coming up, so, I'm excited about it.
Dang, it's so incredible. I can't wait for you to go. I told you, remember, you got to make sure you text me and let me know what's happening out there because that is crazy. I mean, I've been in the Great Pyramid, I think now 7 times,
Wow.
but never to, do that. I mean, it was just the normal. Actually, I did go to the subterranean level before, all like the down. I think it's like 60 meters down, and then it opens up into this big room, and that was incredible. But I can't wait for you to find out what's going on because it's magical,
It
actually.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
The
That's a
energy.
crazy building, but I know we talked when you came on my show about the energy that you felt in there.
Yes, yes. The energy is something different. What do you think that the Great Pyramid was?
I don't know, it's tough. That's a tough one. It's all just speculation. It's tough to kinda, what I do, the way that I think is more possibilities with probabilities. I don't go all in on stuff typically. I just try to stay open to different possibilities. So I think Chris Dunn's theory is a really good one, with energy related. I think that I'm having on my show in December week 1, I'm going to have Jeffrey Drum from the Land of Kim, and he's convinced that they were chemical manufacturing plants, that the various pyramids were manufacturing various chemicals. Obviously, the one that's the most prevalent right now is the tomb theory, and that it was, that they were used for tombs. And so, I think that there's evidence for that, but it's not conclusive evidence. It's not like there's never been a body found, and I think it makes a lot of sense to consider that possibility, but not to get stuck on it and to stay open minded to different possibilities for what it could be. So I'm looking forward to exploring this chemical manufacturing theory with Jeffrey in December. I think that'll be cool.
I've
What?
never heard that one.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Never heard that one.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But then, I mean, the another great theory, it could have been a way to initiate people into sacred rituals,
Mm.
into the afterlife. And like you could have, with the blue lotus flower or whatever, ritualistic medicines that they might have been using at the time to kind of ritualistically walk people through, and sound vibration and music and noise, and kind of going in the subterranean chamber symbolizing the afterlife, and going up and rising to the stars through the, I mean, it could be, who knows, it could have been several of those things at different points in time too, so who knows. What
That
do you think?
I think it's like a power plant. I think it powered the city. That's what I think. But that just what you said about maybe initiating into the afterlife, that almost makes a lot of sense just because of the energy there. I mean, I had an experience in the Great Pyramid that one time. I think I told you about it on the show, but I mean, it's a one specific area that you hum, and then the sound resonance goes all the way up and then comes back down. It hits your body, and then so, I mean, why is it built like that, to encompass that type of frequency? What would be the purpose? So,
Right, right. Yeah,
hmm,
it doesn't make a lot of sense, and, like, those copper pins that are there at the end of it, like, why would you need that? Like, why would you need copper pins that nobody's gonna see, that, like, that serve seemingly no purpose whatsoever? There's just a lot of strange things about it, and none of it's explainable by any one theory, specifically tomb theory, doesn't explain a lot of what we see in there. So yeah, I think it's one of the world's great mysteries.
who do you think built the Great Pyramid? Or
Oh God. Um, I don't know. I don't think it was Khufu. I give Khufu a small percent chance of having done all that work, I think and even I had Zahi Hawass on the show and we talked about it and he kind of laid out his evidence and which is the mainstream evidence with the papyri that was found that kind of says that there was a project going on at that point in time on the pyramid and that they were bringing some limestone to the pyramid, but that doesn't mean that they built it. I mean, it's definitely not conclusive proof that they built it. And there's some early dynasty literature that says that it had been there far before that. So, um, gosh, there's wood that was dated in it that was found, that was dated to carbon dated to 500 years prior to the dates that were said to have been built. And of course, the mainstream is going to say, well, hey, that wood was dated incorrectly, or it was 500-year-old wood when it was brought in, uh, and it was brought in when it was built. But so, I mean, in terms of dates, gosh, I give Khufu maybe, a 20% chance. I give that 500-year period, before that the wood is dated to maybe a 30% chance, and then I give a 50% chance to prior to that at some point in human history.
Yes, one of the great mysteries of the
Yeah,
world. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. What do you think?
I think it's way, way older than what
Yeah,
they say. Way older. I mean, I don't know dates. I don't really, I'm not too much into ancient cultures, but by being there and just, learning what I have, it's just I really don't believe it was 5,000 or whatever they say.
yeah,
I don't think that that's a thing.
yeah,
Yeah. Mm-mm.
yeah, the
Mm-mm.
evidence is weak for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's weak.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what got you interested in the first place with ancient cultures? And I know you have some vases that are ancient. So, what pulled you in this direction?
I've always been interested in it, like, always been interested in mysteries and just kinda the unknown. I don't know what it was, like, I get even as a kid, I've just been a curious person. I've like, school was kinda for me, like, I didn't wanna fill my brain with what these people were telling me because I didn't believe it
Yeah,
necessarily.
same.
Like, I didn't like, it wasn't, and then, like, being told about all these various things that are supposedly real with, as a kid, with Santa Claus and Easter Bunny, and these are real things, and then it's like, well, you find out later that they're not, and then it was like for me that was a big earth-shattering moment, like,
Mm,
wow, like that's not real. So then what is real? Like, who do I believe in this place? Like, I'm
wow.
trusting these people with my survival to give me food and to love and they're straight out lying to me. Like, what did I just come into? Like, I felt like and still feel like in a lot of days, in a lot of cases, that I'm from a different. Like, this is just weird. Like, the whole way that society operates in a lot of cases is it's just very nonsensical. It doesn't really resonate. And so I think just that's always kind of been within me, and my DNA is just kind of being curious and open-minded, and like not taking things to, this is right, this is wrong, this is true, this is false, like
Mhm.
just staying open to various perspectives just based on that kind of childhood trauma that probably everybody has to a certain degree, that we kind of, brush away, and, we don't really think about, and we just kind of accept this is the way it is. And I'm not, I didn't ever really accept that. So,
Old soul. I mean,
yeah,
that's old soul stuff. I mean, yeah. Wow. I never really thought about that like that, but that's so true. I mean, you're just straight out lying to
yeah,
us. Like,
totally.
what?
Totally. Yeah, and we're just lying to our kids, like,
Yeah.
like, that's what we want, like, that's how we wanna, like, raise the next generation through lies, and, like,
God.
why can't we just say, "We don't know?" Like, a lot of times it's like, why not just say, "I don't know," I don't know the answer to that, and,
Yeah.
but it feels like we always have to have the answer. We always have to be right. If we're an expert in a certain field, if we're an Egyptologist, we have to have the answer. And
Mm.
well, and what that is okay. It's the best theory now, sure. Whatever they say is probably the best theory now, but are you 50% sure about that best theory? Are you 99% sure about that best theory? Or is it 100%? Nobody ever tells you. It's just the truth. It's
Uh-huh.
just like, this is the answer. This is the truth. So, yeah, it's one of the things that I think we need to overcome in this society is just becoming a little bit more open-minded.
Yes, yes. Well, I love that because, so many people are very close-minded and they believe what they, hear on the news or whatever. I mean, I call them walking zombies. They're just reacting to external stimulus. They don't really have any consciousness of thought between the stimulus and their response. They're just kind of following the crowd, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that there are people like you out there that kind of challenge that narrative and keep an open mind, not even like I know, because I believe that's ego, and just keeping an open mind about, well, maybe and maybe and maybe it's like this, presenting different ideas. I mean, it's so important for us to get there.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the trick, I think, is when we become attached to a certain side of a certain,
Mhm.
narrative or whatever, whether it's political or, national or racial or, whatever, like economic
Mhm.
status or, whatever it is that people kind of get attached to. And then it's like, then what can you trust out of that person? How can you trust that that person's going to be honest with you and tell you the truth if they have a belief and with a belief comes an agenda and it's like the people that you can trust and that you can really talk to and listen to and learn from and people that are mentors and that are inspiring and that are world changing people are the people that stay open, that don't get attached to a certain side and that spend their life defending this image of themselves as a fill in the blank,
Mhm.
whatever that identification is. Those are the people that change the world, and it's proven, throughout history, time and time and time again, and it doesn't feel like we're getting anywhere. One of the reasons I chose purple for my Limitless Color Studio is, I'm not on one side of the political spectrum. I think both red and blue are, equally sort of very very similar, just with different perspectives, just opposite perspectives. And as soon as one takes one perspective, the other group is just reactively going to take the other perspective. And so purple is the combination of red and blue. It
Mhm.
signifies coming together, and becoming one. And I feel like ultimately the purple party might be the party for the future of the human race once we can kind of come together and see that, look, these are perspectives that we have. These are not truths. These don't need to define me. They can just be a perspective that I have at this moment in time, in the present moment. And I think that once we realize that what we're speaking is in most cases is perspective and opinion as opposed to truth and fact, then we can have a lot more compassion for people with different perspectives and different ways of viewing things, and we can come together and make a lot more progress as
Yes.
a species. So,
Yes, I agree. I've been talking a lot, Matt, lately on victim mentality and how when you blame, let's say you're a Republican and now you're blaming Democrats, or you're, a certain skin color and now you're blaming that skin color. It's like you're in victim mentality. You're releasing your power to these external things that don't even really exist, because everything is just a mirror for us, right? Our consciousness. So and every time you do that, you hand all of your power away to create your reality, because they're creating your reality for you instead of you creating your reality from the power stance that, with an open mind, that anything could be possible, that how we observe things is how we collapse third dimensional reality into this place, right? So I mean, yes, keep an open mind, and right in the center of this way that way is where I want to always be, right
or just off the spectrum. Just looking down at that spectrum, not left, not right, not
there.
middle, but just looking at it from somewhere else. But yeah, you're spot on. You're so spot on with what you're saying. And yeah, it's a very logical and just humanitarian, compassionate, way of looking at the state of things right now. And yeah, we've got some work to do to get there.
Yes.
And it's like you said, giving your power away. Like when we feel all these emotions of anger or resentment or whatever it might be that we're creating from the other side of the coin, from whatever it is, it's like my emotions are created from my judgment, which is created from my identification, as on one of these sides of this story. And so it really all goes back to that I am, I am something other than I am here, I'm now, I'm life, other than something other than my true self. I am insert the self label, insert the self definition, insert the self identification.
Mhm.
You put those in there, and then that's when it really starts, and like you said, that's where your power gets stripped away. And do you really want your emotional state to be determined and dictated by someone else, someone else's like viewpoint? No, you want to have the choice. You want to, see that for what it is and see their perspective for what it is and recognize that they're locked into their perspective just like I'm locked into mine. And if I can let go, I can, I can truly become empowered and have free will and become responsive as opposed to reactive, and work with people and make a hell of a lot more progress in this short time that we have on our life than, what we're doing by just arguing with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I feel like judgment is rooted in victimhood, which is created from your conditioning and trauma as a young person, kind of navigating your way through this life, right? And when you can kind of address those things and do the shadow work of shedding light where there is darkness, right, within you, you can overcome these things, therefore break the chains of the trauma that are really holding you through judgment, through rose colored glasses from your past. And then you can come to the present with no rose colored glasses on, as a just, it could be this and it could be this. I mean, that's really where I feel people need to be. But I really think that victimhood is the root issue, and victimhood shapes perception, which creates reality. And even with the human body, right, I mean, your reticular activating system filters out not your life as what it is, but as your life as what you think that it is, right? So once you can kind of train that and be more open-minded, then your reality is going to reflect that back to you, instead of reflecting issues of being a victim, or this judgment. I mean, if you think that there's obstacles and life is so hard, you're going to see obstacles everywhere. So I mean, you got to take your power back. That's why I teach a lot of shadow work to people.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, no, very, very insightful. And yeah, I mean, the work that you're doing and just having these conversations is changing people's lives. It's a really big deal. So yeah, I'm with you. I hear you. And it's spot on. And what is it to be a victim? It's to blame someone else, essentially, right? I
Mhm,
mean, if we're
mhm.
if we've lost our power, and so we're blaming others for how we feel. It's like I get cut off in traffic this morning, and which actually did happen. And so, am I a victim of that? Am I going to get pissed off like I would have, 4 or 5 years ago, and give this person all of that negative energy and create that negative energy, and then walk into the office with it, and then have that impact other people? It's like, no. And so, it's not going to take away I decided this morning, it's not going to take away that from me today. I'm not going to let it. I'm not a victim of this incident. I'm not going to get pissed off at them. I'm not going to go back and cut them off after they cut me off, which is probably something that I would have done, historically. So yeah, it's kind of that self-observation of your own emotional state, your emotions, and taking that emotion back to, okay, your self-observation of what judgment caused me to get to this emotional state. And emotions aren't bad. Emotions are great. Judgment's not bad. Judgment's great. But just being
Mhm.
aware of it is where it really, that's really the goal. And so, just being aware when I am judging, and judging that person as wrong for doing that or whatever. And then, kind of becoming more aware, self-aware in terms of, okay, what is it about, like what you're saying, what is it about my conditioning, my identification, the trauma that I've experienced that is causing me to judge this so negatively, whatever it is, cutting off in traffic or whatever it is that's creating that turbulence that I feel inside is kind of like, it's important to reflect on that from a just a individual standpoint, so that we can take that accountability back and not blame others for how we feel on the inside.
Yes. Yes. Freaking yes.
Yeah.
Because literally, I mean, judgments, triggers, I love them because it's just an opportunity for you to grow. They're invitations to
Right.
look at yourself and say, hey, well, where could I learn more about myself in this situation?
Yep.
It's powerful when you
Yep.
can turn it around.
It's
Yeah.
it's life giving you the opportunity to grow. Yeah.
Yes. How did you even get here, Matt? Was there like a day when you woke up and you were like, I'm going to look at life different? Or how did you really, I mean, how did you cross that border of
Yeah.
awareness?
Um, my wife has very high expectations. So
I love it.
no, and I'm constantly not meeting. No, I'm just kidding. But
Mhm.
no, I think for me, one of the biggest changes for me that allowed me to take back power and to work on myself was kind of taking over my job as CEO of
Mm,
this company. And I said the first day that I took over, and look, emotional intelligence and self-awareness are going to become a key part of what we do and what we focus on, because as long as we're all here and got 15,000 employees, as long as we're all working together, we're going to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. We don't have that much time on this planet. Let's make the most of it. Let's grow together. Let's
mhm,
learn together. So me as an individual, it was my responsibility to kind of go out and figure out, okay, what does that look like? Um, how can I take the how can I grow personally and individually to be just a more self-aware, emotionally aware version of myself, so that I can then in turn help others within our company to also make change if they choose to. If they choose to, nothing, of course, nothing mandatory. There's no judgment. We're not judging people on where they are or how they're doing. It's but optionally, if people want to come along on this journey and attempt to become a better version of themselves, then this is what I'm going to do. So that's kind of where it started. And for me, two big life changing books were by a guy named Eckhart Tolle, who,
uh,
who wrote The Power of Now and A New Earth. And
yes.
so that for me was a huge part of my and just a couple of big takeaways from that you are not your mind was game
Mm,
changing and life changing, and that we have the power to observe our minds.
yeah,
And I, like most everybody, it was identified with my mind as who I was, and this picture of myself, and this, like, this self whatever, the job title, or the life that you have, or your body, or your thoughts. None of those things are who we are. And so I think kind of realizing that was just a huge life-changing event for me, and it caused me to look at everything just very differently. And then so I got into those two books from Tolle, and then Michael Singer, we read him
mm,
in the next couple of years as a senior team. I brought those books to our team, and we discussed them at an annual retreat at length and in great detail. And so, I took it very seriously that I need to make change, and I need to, not, this isn't something that I can, change in other people. It has to be done from within them. If they want to grow, they have to do it. So all I can do is either kind of, lead by example and be the best version of myself that I can be, and show that I'm less reactive, and I'm less, controlling, and I'm more open now than I was. And I'm, all of these things that are the ways that we can make progress in this life. And so I just attempted to, and I don't know, it's a practice. Like, that's why for us, it's their practices, not values.
mhm, mhm,
It's constantly, you have to practice with every situation that life hits you with, and we're not always going to get it right. We're going to be reactive sometimes. It's going to be a challenge sometimes. But they're not like values from the standpoint of this is right and this other way is wrong.
mhm,
It's like that
mhm,
that brings judgment into it. It's more about this is the practice that I'm going to do, and it's a practice of self-observation, and that's going to help me grow. And so and we don't always get it right. I'm gonna screw things up in the future and be reactive. And I have trauma just like everybody else, and conditioning and whatnot. So But it's that responding at a higher percentage, at a higher rate to those opportunities that life give us to grow is really the whole goal.
Yes, yes, I love that so much. That's so funny that it kind of realizing that we're not our minds, right? Is kind of what opens your eyes because that's exactly what happened with me. It was like, oh my God, I can control my thoughts and then I can control my emotions if I can control my thoughts. I was like, whoa. So it kind
Mm.
of just made me look at life completely different. So that's so freaking cool. So Matt, how do you balance? I mean, you're running 15,000 employees, you just said, and you have your podcast, you have all these guests, you do all these, you're doing excursions. I mean, how do you have a family? Like, how do you balance everything so awesomely?
I appreciate that. I try to just stay present, you know? I mean, it's like if you think too much, if you listen to your mind too much, you can get overwhelmed and then but I think like recognizing that's what's happening and that's where stress comes from, that's where pressure comes from. It's self-inflicted. Like people, say, well, you must be really stressed out. I'm really not. Like, I'm really not. Stress is when we're fearful of the future and when we let our mind take us to future negative events, and sadness, depression is past. It's like, but once you start to realize that stuff and I realize that, hey, I'm in control of my, how I'm able to balance everything, then my stress level is 10% of what it used to be. And, but and I think that just being present, you're able to just be more creative. You're able to get a lot more done in the time that you do have here. I'm not like wasting time on stuff that I might have been wasting time on before. I also have to say that I have a really good team of people that report to me directly. That we have a great culture. We've got a great people, group of people within the company. I have a great support system with my wife and with my family, and I don't have a lot of other stuff that I do besides what you mentioned. I used to play golf. I used to go out more than I do now. I used to do more kind of like. I don't drink anymore, so I quit that. I stopped listening to my mind when it told me to go get alcohol or
Mhm.
or whatever. So I've been 3 years that I haven't had any alcohol. So, I have a lot more time to like get stuff done and to be productive and to have like a productive life that's going to be additive to this world. That's my goal, is to try to accomplish some things. And so I feel like it's I'm in a good place now and enjoying what I'm doing, and I have a lot of fun projects that are happening and can't wait to see what life gives me next. I'm just super grateful for like what the next opportunity is going to be after these. Cause like you mentioned, vases and kind of getting to the bottom of that and the Cobain thing and like all of it has been incredible. It's just like a dream thinking back on it, and like what the opportunities that life gives you if you just kind of let it do its thing and just, you're there for it and you let it happen through you. That's what I'm trying to do. So that I find myself with a large capacity to do a lot of things when I'm in that mindset.
Yes, I love that so much. Life happening through you. You said it. That's key.
Yeah.
I mean, people are stuck. Life is happening to them. No, life is happening through you and for you. And you can shift into that mindset, then everything becomes magic. And then the present moment alone is magic. I mean, that's where the magic happens, is in the present. That's
Yep.
where all the downloads come. That's where everything interesting is like, everything is interesting in the present moment. You can't be bored if you're 100% present. It's impossible because everything's magic.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Facts.
Yes.
Yeah. Well said.
So, what are some of your practices, Matt, that you keep yourself kind of in this balance? I mean, do you do anything specific?
Yeah. I mean, I tried again, in terms of practices and to keep me in this, like this where, to try to keep me in a good, healthy, peaceful, state of being. It's the 9 practices that we've kind of developed as a company that I'm kind of attempting to live. And so, they've been huge for me. They've really been amazing. And it's like you can use a different one with kind of different life situations that are hitting you, that and so again, it's that practice of the first three are kind of inward looking practices, observation of myself and my so the first one is authenticity and just observing when I am being my authentic self versus when I'm acting based on my conditioning or identification or self-label or self-comparison or trauma or whatever it might be. So that's that authenticity practice of just self-observation. And then the second is is what we call acceptance. Um, and it's kind of the practice of observing my judgment. So, what is it based on that authenticity bucket that is causing me to judge? And this isn't making judgment wrong. It's not making it right. It's not making it good. It's not making it bad. It's not saying I shouldn't judge. It's none of that. It's just observing when I do. And then, and so that is the practice of acceptance, and that one is super super helpful. And if I don't catch myself with those two stages, it leads to the emotion. And again, emotions are great to have. Emotions are what makes it they're very human, but the practice is to observe them. And if I haven't observed the ego and authenticity, or in this example, or the negative judgment and acceptance, then I'll create a negative emotion. So I get a third opportunity to observe myself with our third practice, which is accountability, and that's observation of my emotions, my emotional state. And you could add to that defensiveness potentially, but I think that's probably captured within my emotional state. And so those three are kind of big from just a self kind of inward look standpoint. And then there's three practices that are more relational. So it's observation of myself as I am interacting with other people. And so those are openness, which we've talked about, and I think we've talked about how and when we can close and shut down, and how we and not that that's bad, but just again to observe that when I do. So that would be the next one, and then empowerment is the next, which is really about observing my ability to trust other people and to trust myself. And then the sixth would be um, empowerment and transparency would be the sixth one, where it's just observing my ability to be fully honest with people, and to be my mask off kind of transparent self of so that's kind of transparency. Observing if I'm being manipulative, or if I'm not telling the whole truth, and then kind of taking that back to, okay, that's my observation, and then what is it about my authenticity that's causing me, or what judgment did I make that's causing me to not be transparent or to not be open. So we can always take them back to authenticity. And then the last three are what I call transformational practices, and that's really gratitude, um, compassion, and presence, and they can really transform us into in significant ways. And again, these are all practices based on when life throws a situation at me. How do I respond to that, as opposed to reacting to it? How do I respond to that situation? And so, gratitude is just it's a state of being grateful for things, being thankful for things. You can, if you choose to, you can transform positive judgment and the clinging and the attachment that comes along with it. You can transform that to gratitude. And if you choose to, you can transform negative judgment and the resentment and resistance that comes along, and the toxicity and negativity that comes along with judging things negative. You can transform that to compassion. So, if I'm judging somebody else, or I'm judging myself, even maybe, negatively, I can transform that to having compassion for myself. Somebody cuts me off in traffic, I don't have to judge them as, whatever. I can have compassion for that person, and kind of, where they're at. So, and then presence is just kind of observing your mind when it takes you past or future, or when it takes you into this incessant stream of thought and thinking. We can observe that and come back to the present moment. So those for me have kind of been the big practices that have helped me kind of grow and learn. And that is the culmination. That right there, those 9 things are the culmination of 6 years of work on, inner work and reading of books and testing these things and responding to life situations and, attempting to live my higher self. And and to inspire that throughout our company.
Wow, that is so incredibly powerful. It almost sounds like what I just taught in Bali. It's the 4-step mirror method. It's realizing when you're in the moment of judgment of yourself, of others, or whatever, the trigger is happening, then getting to the root of that and finding out where is this stemming from? Authenticity, right?
Mhm.
And then getting to a place of gratitude, right? And reprogramming that whole situation. So you're actually rewiring through neuroplasticity that automatic trigger that brings you into negativity when you get to gratitude from whatever authentic issue it was coming from, right? And then action. So you step into action of whatever the new energy of whatever quantum leap that you just made through those 4 steps. So I love your 9 steps. That's freaking incredible. It's kind of along the same lines.
Yep.
Incredible.
Sounds very similar. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Freaking
So,
awesome, because it's really just where everything is a mirror. Everything they prove it through quantum physics now at
yes.
this point that everything outside of us is pure potential and it just exists as a waveform until we observe it. And when we observe it, boom, it collapses into reality. So we're literally pulling possibility into reality. So you want to be sure that you're pulling the best possible outcomes of things into your reality.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. And brilliant. And yeah, it's like yeah, in the quantum world, there all possibilities exist until one is rendered, until one is observed. It's like the Schrodinger's cat is both dead and alive. You put poison in a box with a cat, it's both dead and alive. It's not either dead or alive. It's both dead and alive until it's observed. And so it's like it shows how ridiculous limiting beliefs are from the
Mhm.
standpoint of like, I know that this is the answer. I know that this is wrong. I know that this is right. We really don't until something occurs, like until something is observed. We don't know that it's right or wrong. And so to close off and limit ourselves, self-limitation essentially, through beliefs, when the world doesn't really work like that at all, and science has proven that from a quantum standpoint that everything exists in possibilities, everything is a probability with a possibility. I mean, we have no choice but to be open minded.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I freaking love your mind, Matt. It's just, talking to you always is so inspiring. I remember I left when I came out there to do the interview. I left feeling so inspired and just like, yay, there's people out here that are really doing the work. And I thank you so much for everything that you're doing for your podcast, for your company, and being the head of your company. I feel like it's so important to be that standard, right? The golden standard of your higher self. So doing all the inner work just to make sure that you show up every single day is just, I mean, it's incredible. And it's not easy, I mean, things happen. We're humans and we have emotions and we have traumas and pasts, right? So it's not easy to show up like that every single day. So I give you a lot of props and just thank you so
Uh,
much.
Facts. Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I don't show up every day. Like, I mean, that's why it's a practice, like I have off days for sure. I have a lot of Monday trauma, like Monday, and I think it's like I'm a fourth generation, and Mondays, are very there's a lot of, I think, generational trauma that goes back in my family line, when you're showing up and reporting numbers. And I think for me, going to school Mondays were always a challenge, because, I'd be, it's just like the weekends where I'm outside in nature and exploring, and I don't. So yeah, I mean, I don't always, respond in ways that, that I would like to, but I'm doing it a hell of a lot more than I used to,
Mhm.
like I can say that I'm proud of the way that I've handled myself in the last bunch of years versus, earlier in life when I didn't, I wasn't there. I was just, very much more led by emotions and
Mhm.
um reactivity as opposed to, contemplation and being thoughtful and being open and, all of those things. So I appreciate you saying it, but it is a work in progress and we're not done until we're done.
Yeah, same. I
Mhm.
say the same thing.
Yeah.
I say the same thing. So, Matt, if you could give people three pieces of advice, just any type of advice for life or whatever, what would it be?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I might struggle to think of one.
Give me one then.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, yes. So, again, it's kind of along the same lines of what we're talking about, is just staying open and staying curious. It's critical. I think that it can really be the difference of how we experience life in like the type of life, human experience that we have while we're here can just be completely transformed by open-mindedness and curiosity as opposed to like, I'm right, I have the answer, and be one of those people that are so set in your ways that it's very difficult to live like that and to be around people like that. And I've got plenty of trauma from you know being around people like that, as I think most people do. So I think staying open is critical for the human race. I think compassion is critical for the human race. To know that we're all in different places. We all come from different places. We all have different experiences. We're at different points in our life right now, and understanding how this matrix works, how this place works that we're operating in, and so just having compassion for people at all different places of their experience is critical, and just to become more aware of yourself. I think, when I actually visited Michael Singer. That might be the biggest piece of advice that I could say. Who's an incredible author. He's a ton of amazing books, but Untethered Soul, I'd highly recommend at least, try the first couple of chapters of that one, and it's life changing. But I was able to visit him at his property in Alachua County, out just outside of Gainesville, last year, and we spent 4 hours together just talking and walking his property. I think he has like 1,000 acres or something. And the last thing that he said to me as I was leaving was, "Keep letting go."
Mm.
And so, I think that really stuck with me, and he said it, I think, intentionally as the last thing to make sure that I kinda remembered that. But, the things that we cling to, the things that we hold on to as a part of ourself, as a part of this avatar, this movie character, whatever it is, the ego, whatever we wanna call it, we have the choice. We can observe that, we can hold on to it, or we can let it go. And it's not saying that it's right to let go in all cases. There's certain things that we're going to want to hold on to, that we just want to hold on to, and that's okay too. But just to know that you have the choice is critical. And so, for me, I'm a Florida Gator fan. I went there. My dad went there. His grandfather went there. My son's there now. My son's mom went there. It's like my aunt went there. I mean, it's like that's one thing that's a part of my ego that I have a difficult time, even when we're 1-5 and everybody's yelling to fire the coach. I have a difficult time letting that go. But just knowing that you have the choice to hold on to things that you're attached to, whether it's alcohol or, whatever. It just ask the question, is this serving me? Is this helping me in any way? Is this helping the people around me? And just knowing that you have the power to not listen to your mind when it tries to put you through those mental patterns of whatever it might be that we're attached to, that we're holding on to, and create that neuroplasticity through the process of awareness, of awareness. So that would be maybe my one going away.
Freaking amazing. I love it all. Matt, where can people find you?
Oh, Limitless. I'm in X, so I'm on X at MBeallX, MBeallX, and obviously the Limitless podcast is my passion, and so that is at YouTube under Matt Beall Limitless, and on Spotify under Matt Beall Limitless, and all the other places as well. But those are kind of the big spots that you can find me. But I'm on every social media platform. from Instagram to Facebook, but definitely from a personal standpoint, I'm personally active on X and of course in the comments on my podcast. So those would be the primary places. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Awesome. And I'll link to all of those places in the description, guys. Matt, it has been such an honor to have you on here. I mean, just the work that you're doing and your wisdom and just openness is really a breath of fresh air, to be honest. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with me today. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Honored to do it, Elizabeth. And I knew when I had you on my podcast that I you get it. You're helping people. You see things very clearly as well, and it's it's a journey, and it's gonna be, we're gonna have challenges, but you're on the right path too. And I knew that, and we clicked immediately. So I'm honored to be on your show now too. After you were able to come onto my show. So let's keep in touch and keep doing what you're doing, because you're changing the world.
Thank you so much, Matt. That means so much. I have to have your wife on next too, by
Yes.
the way.
Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Chris was
Thank you so
epic.
much.
I love her.
Yes. I appreciate you guys. This was another episode, amazing episode of Unlimited. I was about to say Limitless. Unlimited with Elisabeth Carson. Thanks, Matt. Until next time, you guys. Peace.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and don't necessarily reflect those of the producers or affiliates. We do not guarantee the accuracy of the content. Please verify information and seek professional advice when needed. By listening, you agree not to hold us liable for any actions taken based on this content. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you enjoy the episodes ahead.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to stay on this journey with me. There is so much more ahead. Courses, mentoring, healing circles, retreats, safe spaces to heal and grow. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and stay connected. We are not alone. In this journey, we're on it together.